Wonderful. So good afternoon, everyone. Bonjour à tous. Tervetuloa, with my best Finnish accent. So my name is Gabrielle Bastien. I'm the founder of Regeneration Canada, an NGO that's based in my home country, with the mission of promoting soil regeneration as a solution to climate change. And I've had the pleasure and honor to be one of the vice presidents of the 4 per 1000 initiative for 2 years now. So it's a real pleasure to welcome you all to this regional meeting of the 4 per 1000 network, which was co-organized with our friends from the Baltic Sea Action Group, with the precious support of the Finnish Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry through their Catch the Carbon program, the Strategic Research Council, EIT Food, the Magentor Nestling Foundation, the Regional Council of Helsinki, and Moet Hennessy, who provided us with the wine for the conference. So a warm thank you to all of our partners who have made this event possible. This event is also part of EU Green Week, which further highlights its significance. And just to give you an idea of the scale of this event, about 300 people are participating on-site in Helsinki, and we're expecting about as many people to join us remotely. So really a tremendous participation. So thank you all so much for joining us. So before we get started, I just have a few technical instructions to make sure the event goes smoothly for everybody. So if you haven't joined the Eventi platform yet, please make sure to do so right away. That way you'll be able to receive important information throughout the event, and you'll have continuous access to the full program on this platform as well. On Eventi, you'll also see the online posters, and most importantly, you'll be able to network with your fellow participants regardless of their location. So this is really exciting. So we've sent you a link via email with instructions on how to join. And if you haven't received anything, please make sure to check your spam folder, since it may have ended up there. You can also simply scan the QR code, which is on the slide right now. And if you have any problems using the Eventi platform, we're glad to help. The contact information is on the slide as well for that. On Eventi, you'll also have the ability to ask questions anytime via the questions box, and you can even vote on each other's questions, so we'll try to answer the ones you find most interesting and relevant. And if you're on site here in Helsinki, it's up to you to decide if you want to ask a question via Eventi or wait to ask it in person, and we will let you know when it is time for questions from the audience. Just so you know, we have a photographer on site who will be documenting the event. So if you do not want to be photographed, please let one of the event organizers know. And we also ask to please be respectful of other participants when taking photos and publishing them online. So thank you in advance for this. Please note that we will not tolerate any form of discrimination or harassment. So if you encounter any problems, do not hesitate to reach out to us, and we will treat these matters confidentially. You'll find the contact details for this on screen now and on Eventi. And at most times, you should be able to find the organizers at the front of the room. So now that all this has been said, let me briefly introduce the 4 per 1000 initiative for those who still don't know it. So the 4 per 1000 initiative was born at COP21 in Paris in December 2015, at a time when agriculture did not yet have a voice in the climate negotiations and was only seen as a sector contributing to the problem in terms of greenhouse gas emissions. So the idea of changing the way we look at agriculture, particularly because it has such tremendous potential to contribute to mitigating climate change, has been concretized with the 4 per 1000 initiative, which promotes the sequestration of carbon in soils through appropriate agricultural practices. Since then, the initiative, with now 770 partners, including 340 members, is one of the main international partnerships dealing with soil carbon sequestration and soil health. After a few quieter years in terms of in-person meetings due to the pandemic, we are so pleased to gather stakeholders of the Northern European region to address the issue of carbon sequestration in agricultural soils, particularly as a climate solution, but also for all of the other benefits to be derived from these beneficial agricultural practices. Like the 4 per 1000 initiative, we wanted to open this conference to all categories of stakeholders, including decision makers, farmers, scientists, representatives of civil society, and entrepreneurs, to foster beneficial exchanges and enable systems change at the scale of this region. So from the organizers and myself, welcome to all of you, whether you are from the Helsinki region, elsewhere in Finland, from a neighboring country, or further away in Europe or the world, in person or online. Welcome to all. So today we have an exciting program ahead of us. So we will first have greetings from the European Commission and from the funders of the event. Then EIT Food and Carbon Action will tell us how change is possible in this context. After the coffee break, we'll have a panel discussion, and we will end the day with farmer stories and soil art. But let's first start by hearing words from the two people behind the event, our two main event organizers who've been working so hard to put all of this together. So Mrs. Laura Höijer, Managing Director of Baltic Sea Action Group, and Mr. Paul Liu, the Executive Secretary of the 4 per 1000 Initiative. Please join me in welcoming them on stage.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Gabrielle. So I'm Paul Liu, as you imagine. Warm welcome to all of you here or behind the screen. I know it's not easy to be on the screen. As Gabrielle stated, this is the first ever Northern Europe regional meeting of the 4 per 1000 Initiative that are hosted. And we are already some regional meeting in Africa, in Asia. We had one in Abidjan recently. We will have one in India in September, but now we are in Helsinki for the North Europe meeting. And this North Europe meeting is gathering 23 countries. This is a little bit innovative. We share Europe in two parts. And we had a long discussion on that, but it was very important because there were some specific subjects to be addressed by this conference. And we are very proud to be able to work with all of you today.
Yes. A warm welcome from my behalf also. It is so great to see so many of you here in Helsinki. And as I represent Baltic Sea, I'm of course so happy that we can see the Baltic Sea from the window. So we are gathered around the beautiful Baltic Sea.
True, it's very nice. But how we could come here, just finished to arrive in Helsinki. I think you proposed me something 2 years ago. We are a little bit persistent in what we consider to be important to organize.
Yes, indeed. So how did we come up with this with Paul? So I think sometimes preparing applications can really keep you innovative. So Catch the Carbon program, funded by the Finnish Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry, had a call open on how to boost collaboration between 4 per 1000 and Finland. Well, as we have been doing very good collaboration with Paul and with the 4 per 1000 initiative, it was very natural for me to apply. So I took the phone and I called you, Paul, and said, what should we do? And should we come up with something really big? So we made the application, we were successful. I guess it was a good application. We got funded, and here we are.
Yes, here we are. We are starting two very exciting days. 3 with the one in the field. Well, I will not repeat what Gabrielle said about the 4 per 1000 initiative. We were a presentation. We'll have the presentation tomorrow morning also on this. And so since almost 7 years now, the initiative is promoting soil carbon sequestration as it enhances soil health and improves productivity and ecosystem resilience. This is very important. By the way, you may wonder why a funny name like 4 per 1000 look like a low-fat yogurt. Well, not exactly when you look at me. Anyway, well, this is an answer to a very simple question. By which quantity of carbon should we, so by which percentage, should we increase the quantity of carbon in the soil of the planet every year to compensate roughly, this is a raw calculation, the carbon release in the atmosphere due to the human activity minus the capture by the forest and the ocean every year. So this calculation was made by a researcher, maybe on a corner of a table at the end of a dinner was a little bit too much wine, I don't know. Anyway, the calculation is 0.4%. 0.4% is 4 per thousand, and we translate it in French for 4 pour mille, 4 per mille. I like this English-French wording of the initiative. So Finland was one of the first countries to join the initiative at the very early stage. And this is one of the main reasons, but not only, why we are here today.
Indeed. Maybe I'll tell a story why Baltic Sea Action Group is interested on this topic. Well, our client is the Baltic Sea. We are a non-profit foundation and we do very concrete measures to protect the sea. I told you it's a beautiful sea, but actually it is also one of the most polluted seas in the world. The biggest threats to the Baltic Sea are eutrophication and climate change. Well, agriculture does play a big role here, the nutrient emissions from agriculture. So you already, Paul, listed benefits of regenerative agriculture, but I want to add here the benefits to protect the waterways, the water bodies such as the Baltic Sea. So with the regenerative agriculture, we can also protect the waters, and that's motivating, of course, our foundation. So you can say that the farmer, the climate, the biodiversity, the Baltic Sea, all benefits. And actually, what we are doing at the Baltic Sea Action Group, we have this carbon action platform. We are promoting regenerative agriculture through that work, but you will hear much more about carbon action during today.
Definitely. And with this event, we want to boost agricultural soil carbon sequestration in Northern Europe. Well, not only there, everywhere also on the planet, of course. We want to create a forum for sharing new scientific knowledge, help spark cooperation, and enable exchange between different actors, who, on their own way or on different level, all promote the transition toward regenerative, productive, highly resilient agriculture. We at the 4 per Mille initiative can really see that the importance of the topic is coming more and more evident among all the different crises that we are facing: climate change, erosion of biodiversity, desertification, food insecurity, and so on.
So now we will have 3 days together. We will have about 12 keynote speeches, 2 field trips, tens of posters, panel discussions, and countless opportunities to connect and gain new insights. We believe that connecting real-world farming with policy, with business, with research is vital if we are to succeed in our missions. So this is what we kept in mind when we designed the program for you. I think we have a quite nice and diverse program. So now let's enjoy.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura. I think the message also from this event are very important, the one you will all contribute to build with us. We will build this, and we hope that you will actively participate to this elaboration. We, the organizers, will gather all the main conclusions of this meeting from all categories of stakeholders. Nobody will be left behind. And we will bring those results forward. We will organize, hopefully at the end of the year in Dubai, our 4 per Mille Day during the COP28. And we will bring the result of this meeting over there to make the policymaker aware of what's going on in this part of the world. So, as you said, Laura, let's enjoy the events. And, of course, let's enjoy this beautiful Finland. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Laura and Paul, for setting the ground for the event we have ahead of us, pun intended. No, but really, I think it's fantastic to see all the work that's been done. And I remember meeting in Glasgow a year and a half ago, first talking about the event, so it's great to see that it's all come together. So now, next up, we are delighted to have a greeting from Virginijus Sinkevičius, who is the Commissioner for the Environment, Oceans and Fisheries of the European Commission. So Mr. Sinkevičius was not able to be there in person with us today, so we're lucky to have a video greeting from him. So I'll invite our technical team. I take the opportunity to thank our technical team for all of the work today and tomorrow in synchronizing all of this. So please go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are all becoming sadly familiar with the impacts of climate change. This year we have already seen an extreme heat wave in April on the Iberian Peninsula and all around the Mediterranean. We have seen droughts and water levels that are dangerously low. And in Italy, we have now seen the worst floods in a century. Dried, compacted soils unable to absorb huge amounts of rain, bringing devastation to Emilia-Romagna. It's shown the world once again how soil health, agriculture, climate change, and disaster resilience are all very closely connected. As you know, at 4 per 1,000, soil organic carbon is crucial for food security and for mitigating climate change. Today, mineral soils under cropland are losing more than 7 million tons of carbon every year. And draining peatland now accounts for 5% of total EU greenhouse gas emissions. We need to reverse those trends. We need to restore the productive capacity of our soils and safeguard their essential role in the carbon, water, and nutrient cycle. The path to restoring soils is set out in EU Soil Strategy for 2030. In that vision, by the year 2050, all soil ecosystems should be in healthy condition. Protection, sustainable management, and restoration of soil should become the norm. And our soils should enjoy the same level of protection as our waters, our seas, and our air. As I speak, the Commission is finalizing a new legislative proposal to help deliver that vision and build up the health of Europe's soils. The new law will help us define, monitor, and improve soil health by the middle of the century. That will help Europe deliver on its climate objectives, ensure food security, and strengthen our resilience in the face of disasters. We will be building on existing structures for monitoring soils, and member states will have the flexibility to adapt it to local conditions. I am counting on your support when the proposal is adopted to help us explain the importance of the soil health law and start working on its implementation. Europe, its environment, its people, and its economy, we all need this law. I'm also happy to confirm that the European Commission will shortly join the 4 per 1,000 initiative. We made that promise in the EU Soil Strategy, and I'm very pleased to see it happening at last. My services are currently formalizing that decision. I wish you a very fruitful meeting, and thank you once again for the excellent work that you do.
Wonderful. Thank you to Mr. Sinkevičius for this video greeting. So now for the next segment, we will have a few opening speeches to really highlight the importance of this topic of regenerating the health of our soils for all of its benefits: climate mitigation, resilience, biodiversity, etc. So we'll be hearing from the Commission and from funders of our event, also around some initiatives that they are doing around this. So first off, I'm delighted to invite on stage Magda Kopczynska, who's the Deputy Director General of the Directorate General for Agriculture and Rural Development of the EU Commission. Please join me in welcoming her on stage. Thank you.
Yes, that works. Good afternoon to everybody in the room and everybody who's watching. It's not very common that you're getting two Commission people speaking in their role. Well, of course, Commissioner has a special role there. He made my work a bit easier because he mentioned two things out of the couple of things that I wanted to mention. So with that, you may hope the speech will be shorter, but no, it won't. So bear with me for a few minutes. Yes, and then you will have one more colleague from the Commission. Christian, where are you? He's there. You will have Christian Holzleitner, who will be speaking later in the afternoon, and he will be talking to you about the thing where probably most of you are most interested about, which is the certification of carbon removals. But Christian, I'm not spoiling the fun for you, so you will need to do the fun. And I also apologize because I will have to leave before even the introductory part is finished, but Christian promised that he will debrief in detail of anything that you will discuss. Now, you heard by the introduction, I do come from DG Agriculture, and in addition to working in DG Agriculture, I am also the manager for the mission A Soil Deal for Europe, which, as you may know, is one of the few missions, a new instrument that we put in place as the Commission a couple of years ago to bring together research, innovation practitioners, scientists, policymakers, decision makers to address topics of key importance for the society. And if I give you the titles of the other missions, cancer, cities, oceans, climate adaptation, soil is number 5. And if you needed any other proof that soil matters, this is exactly it. There's a definite, clear agreement across the European Commission, but also across many member states and stakeholder organizations that without soil, we will not make it. There is this very well-known quote coming from Mr. Swaminathan, who said, if agriculture goes wrong, nothing else will have a chance to go right. I used that quote in Agri-Research conference that we organized last week in Brussels, but now I use this quote differently, because what I say is that if soil goes wrong, agriculture will not go right. And I think it's very encouraging to see so many of you here, and also knowing that so many of you will follow those discussions, because of course soil is important for climate change, but soil is absolutely crucial when it comes to agriculture and future that we want to have for agriculture, not just in Europe, but also worldwide. And that's why it is so encouraging that so many projects are happening. Well, first of all, 4 per mil is a global initiative, but also that so many things work together on the basis of things that we try to achieve in the EU. You know the numbers. 60% of soils in Europe are considered to be unhealthy. And if you see the number 60%, you may actually be even asking yourselves, how is it that we are still making it when it comes to agriculture, forestry, any activity for which soil is essential? 50% of peatlands are drained and are losing carbon, which is of course direct contribution to the climate crisis. 24% of land is affected by unsustainable water erosion rates. Again, this has very strong link to the health of soils. So what we have been trying to achieve at the EU level with, on the one hand, the research programs, but on the other hand, funding programs, including common agriculture policy, to which I will turn in a second, we have been trying to understand better what are the drivers behind soil degradation. And I know that everybody in the room knows it, and I know that everybody who's watching knows it, but trust me, there are a lot of people out there who are unaware, and they do not understand, and they do not necessarily appreciate, because of course we never pay attention to the thing that is under our feet, because why should we? But we would also like to have a better understanding of what is the impact of current management practices on various aspects of soil health. And last but not least, to make sure that whoever is doing things right, whenever we have sustainable soil management in agriculture, forestry, and other sectors, we can promote it. We can facilitate sharing knowledge and sharing those best practices. And that is one of the big things behind the mission, A Soil Deal for Europe. Because, of course, the way missions are constructed, I told you, we bring different people together and we put them to work. And we have this approach of living labs, where by 2030 we would like to have 100 living labs where people who know how to do things, they test those things, they practice those things, and then we can use that knowledge and those practices to make sure that they are adapted and taken on board by others. So we have a project as part of the soil mission to create a network of networks of carbon farming initiatives across the EU, to make sure that transparency, environmental integrity, and standardization in soil carbon accounting is better understood and taken on board. But we also have 2 more projects in the... There's this thing here saying 2 minutes. I'm ignoring it. I'm joking, I'm not. No, but there are also those 2 projects that are focusing specifically on the challenges of monitoring, reporting, and verification of carbon sequestration. I stop here, Christian will tell you more, because one thing that I did want to talk and touch upon is, of course, common agriculture policy. Because there, healthy soils and carbon farming are also a very important element of what we believe we should be offering financial support to. Minimum 25% of direct payments are to be dedicated to eco schemes in common agriculture policy. 35% of the European Regional Development Fund should be dedicated to environmental and climate objectives. Again, everything that has been happening at Brussels level and promoted by European Commission of the last couple of years has had the Green Deal and climate objectives very much at the forefront of what needs to be done. 2 more things, and then I promise I finish. Common agriculture policy is implemented at national level by the so-called CAP strategic plans. Each member state has to put forward a plan sent to us to tell us and everybody else how they will implement common agriculture policy. The first overview of those 27 strategic plans shows that more than 35%, over 56 million hectares of the so-called utilized agriculture area is to receive support to reduce emissions or store carbon in soils and biomass. And that's a very good result because it does tell you that member states are aware that they have to do things. And also more than 620,000 hectares are planned to be supported for afforestation, agroforestry and restoration. It's not the end, it's just the beginning. And I'm absolutely convinced that the event today will help to bring even more ideas to everybody in the room, to national decision makers, to Brussels policymakers and everybody else, what it is that we can do to make sure that we get soil right. Because as I said, if soil is not okay, nothing else will work. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Kopczynska. This was certainly very inspiring to hear what the EU Commission is doing in regards to soil health. And it's most certainly true, if we don't have soil health, we can't really think of an agricultural sector that works, and then everything else as well. So next up, I will welcome on stage Jaana Husu-Kallio, who is the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry of Finland. Welcome.
Dear Laura and dear Paul, dear friends, dear Magda and Christian, experts and friends of soil, perhaps I can start by that. And first of all, congratulations to France for the initiative. We wouldn't be here without the initiative. I think that is the number one for the big applause. And as Paul, you correctly said, and I'm very proud of that, representing one of the ministries of Finland, that Finland indeed was one of the very first countries to sign the commitment. So indeed, the work has started. Sometimes perhaps we could make a question, why did it take 8 years to come to Finland and to have this Nordic or Northern Europe regional meeting, but better later than ever. Now the timing is perfect, because I think we have much more scientific knowledge, we have much more pragmatic experience to share, and that is indeed what the meeting today is for. And for our foreign friends, the Baltic Sea we Finns love. There's no doubt about that, and we want to take better care of that than we have done in the past. And with the current knowledge, starting from the science, we have more possibilities for that than, for instance, in my childhood. So I told Magda that I'm a sailor. I've been sailing in that Baltic Sea, for 40 years. And I have seen how it has changed. But I have also seen how it's changing back to what it was when I was a little bit younger than I am today. But indeed, as we heard from the commissioner himself and Magda from DG Agri, soil is definitely not only of interest, increasing interest, but on the top of the agenda on EU level, and it should be on national level as well. And there's plenty of legislation, and there's plenty of going on, I think, in all the member countries of the European Union, but also elsewhere that we respect for sure. And why I'm saying that, the truth is, of course, that healthy soils are also included in the Sustainable Development Goals, which we should not underestimate, especially the goal on life on land, but also linkage to many other SDGs we are aware of. But as we are speaking about the healthy soils here in Helsinki in this meeting, I would like to point out the differences in soil characteristics that they depend also on regional, geographical regions. That is a fact. There are many similarities, but there are also differences that and it is important that we take this into account, that also the local perspectives and latest available research are taken into account when we are planning different kinds of measures. And that is also part of the strategy plans that Magda was referring to when we are talking about the common agriculture policy, and also the duties and the responsibilities of each of the countries. So there is indeed an increasing need for clear guidance and tools for farmers and other practitioners around the world. We need different kinds of indicators on soil health. We are working hard on those. We need diversified crops and find resilient and suitable varieties. And as a whole, we need right measures to right places. I think that is the main message that I have to you on behalf of my ministry. So this means that also national investments in research and education are needed in this country and elsewhere. And I wish to share with you one of the very concrete examples of the investments in knowledge building in Finland. And you can see that in the screen as well. And Laura was referring to that already in a nice way in the introduction. That from 2020 onwards, our ministry, the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry, has been coordinating the Catch the Carbon package of climate measures. And the overall aim of the Catch the Carbon package is to reduce emissions in the land use sector, maintain and strengthen carbon sinks and reservoirs, as well as promote adaptation to climate change and increase the knowledge base for future policy preparation. And ladies and gentlemen, more than 100 research, innovation and development projects have been funded, among other measures, under this initiative. And the total public investment for these years is over 100 million euros. And I've been long enough in the business, so I can say that on the Finnish perspective, this is a huge investment in a topical issue. So, advancing 4 per meal initiative has been included under the umbrella of the Catch the Carbon program. And as Laura said, this conference is also a good example of this excellent cooperation around the program. And I'm happy that it is now also an international cooperation program. So, dear friends, we all know that healthy soils really mean everything to the farmer, as Magda, you said, in a beautiful way. As we mean from the procurement, from the climate, or from the biodiversity perspective. And the transition of the farming practices requires scientific research, hand in hand with practical knowledge of the farmers. And I know that there will be nice presentations about that in Finland to come. In many research and development projects included in the Carbon Action Network, farmers and researchers are learning the most effective ways to improve the soil carbon sequestration, and in a Nordic country like Finland also how to minimize the greenhouse gas emissions from organic soils. At the same time, taking into account food security and other aspects of sustainability. So, all cultivation benefits from high quality soil. Crop yields will not be good if the soil is not well managed. I think that we all can understand. So, to conclude, dear friends, improving and sharing knowledge, the best practices, is the base for many more success stories in terms of improving healthy soils. And as we heard already in the beginning, these 3 days will definitely be an excellent opportunity to share all the experience you have in the room today. Challenge the experts as well, exchange your experience and knowledges in an open way. And to conclude, thank you, dear Laura. Thank you, dear colleagues from the Baltic Sea Action Group, for organizing and hosting this meeting. I'm 100% sure that this will be a successful thing. Let's continue the cooperation. Let's take good care of the Baltic Sea and all the other seas around the world. It's up to us, dear friends.
Thank you so much, Jaana Husu-Kallio. What a tremendous example you're setting for other countries by investing so seriously into regenerating your soils in Finland. That makes me very hopeful. So next up, we will hear from Pia Tynys, who is the Chief Climate Advisor of Helsinki-Uusimaa Regional Council. So Pia, the floor is yours.
Thanks. So I'm happy and excited to welcome you all to the Helsinki-Uusimaa region. Our region is home to 1.7 million citizens, which makes 1/3 of the Finnish population. They live in 26 municipalities that vary in size and economic structure. Of course, the most well-known city of our region is the capital city of Helsinki, where this exciting conference is taking place now. But among our municipalities, we also have much smaller and more rural municipalities. We have quite diverse and lively agricultural sector in Helsinki-Uusimaa region. Our cropland area is about 8% of the cropland area in use in Finland, while the total land area is about 3% of the whole land area in Finland. In other words, the topics of our conference are extremely important to our region. Our region wants to play its part in finding solutions to the biodiversity and climate crisis. Here are our main strategies. Our regional vision is to be well ahead in climate change mitigation, resource wisdom, and also in economic and social well-being in 2030. We aim for carbon neutrality by 2030, and we are fully committed to the UN Sustainable Development Goals and the European Green Deal, as well as other European strategies, such as Zero Pollution Action Plan and also Soil Mission. In 2021, greenhouse gas emissions in Helsinki-Uusimaa regions amounted to approximately 6.4 million tons CO2, which corresponds to slightly over 1/5 of the total emissions of Finnish municipalities. Since 2005, the total emissions of our region have decreased by 28%, while the population of the region has grown by about 260,000 inhabitants over the same period. So we have done a lot of work. We will face a serious challenge regarding our objectives, both in our climate neutrality target and in Finnish Climate Act. The carbon sinks play a significant role. However, in Helsinki-Uusimaa, the area of forest land is small in relation to the population and emissions. And as a result of intensive felling in recent years, the carbon sink of the region's forests has been almost non-existent. It is worrying that in recent calculations, the carbon sink of forests has decreased significantly throughout the country, and the land use sector has turned into a source of emissions. This makes it more difficult to achieve the national and regional carbon neutrality target. So, while emission reduction should be our primary way of reaching climate neutrality objectives, natural carbon sinks and stocks must remain in the discussion. They have great benefits to the biodiversity as well, a topic that is often forgotten in the heated public discussion. Forests are often in the center of the discussion about natural sinks, but as we know in this room, soil can store a large amount of carbon, and the carbon stocks in cultivated soil can be enhanced. New methods to improve soil health are being researched in all of Europe, including the Helsinki-Uusimaa region. We are proud of our research institutes, universities and organizations like Baltic Sea Action Group, who are actively researching, developing and innovating for topics discussed today and tomorrow: regenerative farming, soil observation, greenhouse gas measurement methods and tools, etc. Our regional innovation ecosystem is well ahead, even globally, in these topics, I dare to say. So we see this topic as part of the wider transition to future sustainable food. With our strong RDI sector, we need to be front runner in finding solutions to both climate and biodiversity crisis. We want to encourage this vision also in our countryside and among the agriculture sector. We want to promote innovations throughout the whole food sector, from primary production to the innovations on the plates of the consumers. No one can longer doubt the need to rethink our entire food production system due to the climate crisis. But the food industry trends and practices are changing, and that is surely good news, as innovations made in new ecosystems are opening new paths for entrepreneurs and businesses. Our innovation ecosystem can also be interesting to all international partners. We form a suitable sized community to test innovations before they enter the global market. We welcome all the cooperation. This is also why we are super happy to have this regional meeting here in Helsinki-Uusimaa region. We are looking forward to fruitful discussions, learnings, and new connections. Welcome to innovate with us.
Thank you very much, Pia, for this informative speech. It's really inspiring to see what the Helsinki Regional Council is doing for this. So next, I will welcome Marja-Liisa Meurice, who is the Director of IT Food CLC Northeast please join me in welcoming Marja-Liisa. Thank you.
So, I don't quite understand which language I'm supposed to speak now, but nevertheless, hyvää iltapäivää. Ihan tällä suomen kielellä, mutta bonjour aussi pour nos amis francophones. And of course, like really lovely afternoon for all of you. So, my name is Marja-Liisa Meurice, and I'm a director of EIT Food. We are part of basically EIT family, and very much related, of course, to our Europe, our wonderful Europe. And we have been kind of like lucky enough to have a, let's say, possibility to fund fantastic projects that all of you, or many of you, have been proposing like throughout the life of EIT, so European Institute of Technology and Innovation. So it means that I'm representing food area, so not only industry of food, but also everything that is coming from the field. I always say that food is about emotion. It's about being together. It's also about technology. And food doesn't come from the skies. It actually comes often from down of the earth. Therefore, what is even more and more normal than actually being here together. And I would like to very much thank, first of all, Laura and all our friends in Baltic Sea Action Group about this opportunity, because it is really hugely important that all the players in agri-food area, we are here together to make this transformation. And before I actually forget to change any slides, so I will have to probably do that one as well. Let me see if I manage. Well, there we go. And so, within EIT Food, we obviously have this kind of a missions of really transforming the food system. And it is all about 5-6 years that within EIT Food, we have been really strongly focusing on making this transformation happen. I can tell you it's not really an easy task, but with the friends and partners like Baltic Sea Action Group, you know, we can really make it. And I'm going to show you a couple of other friends that we have on board. But before going to that slide, I would like to tell you some bad news, which you obviously know, is that food is actually in crisis. I mean, we cannot ignore it. We have to understand that what is it that we are eating, how it is produced, and what are we going to do also afterwards actually does matter. And we actually really need to think about it, how we are going to make this transformation happen. And in EIT Food, I don't know why my finger is not obviously working exactly how it's supposed to be, but let's go to the next one. There we go. So EIT Food, we have actually defined it with the 3 missions. So one of the things is that we want to have healthier lives through healthier food. Kind of sounds easy, right? But it's not that easy. Then the second part is a net zero food system. So how the food is really produced, how we can make sure that if we are told to eat many legumes and many fruits per day, that actually that is really bringing us the nutrition that we want. And I would also say there that that's one of those things that if the soil is not right, food is not right. And that's absolutely true. And then the third mission that we have is reducing risk for a fair, resilient food system. Well, what does it mean? It actually means that we know indeed that the food that we are eating, where it is coming from, is right, it's produced exactly in the right way, and also everybody's respecting these rules throughout the whole food value chain. So kind of easy things, right? But how come that this is sometimes so really complicated? We do see as well, let's say, of a building trust as being a really most important thing. Because you know what? Consumers actually really trust farmers, but actually they don't trust food industry. And so we don't have to change the trust for the farmers. We're actually really happy about that one. But we should definitely change the trust for the food industry. And there is also a lot of work that needs to be done. You see here three kind of areas where we particularly work. So one of the things is protein diversification, the second one is regenerative agriculture, and then the third one is labeling, packaging, and transparency. So this is how we frame a little bit the work that we have, because otherwise there's a whole world to be done, and obviously we cannot really do everything. So I hope that some of these, let's say, methods or ways of working are somehow familiar to you. So we do it through education, through innovation, entrepreneurship, public engagement, and public affairs. So basically, in all these areas, you might have a role to play. So I'm really inviting you all to look at the EIT Food website and also to see that, okay, whether it is through open calls where you can propose your great ideas, your great innovations, or whether it is through your educational programs that you might like to propose, or startups that you might like to propose as well to take part in this whole journey. Because once again, we need all of those elements in order to make this thing happen, because otherwise we will not make it. And then finally, here you see a little bit the scope, of course, of Europe. I'm a director of all that green part, so I'm very proud of Europe and the Nordics, Baltics, but also the Central and Eastern Europe that is actually coming really very fast up front there. And then finally, basically the community where we work, a lot of probably companies, organizations that you know, equally research centers like from Finland, VTT, or Helsinki University, or several others. So it is really a great community where the expertise is coming from. So EIT communities, like EIT Food as well, is nothing without its partners, nothing. So that's really also important to remember. And then finally, the reason why we are here today is particularly for regenerative agriculture practices. So we have a program that we have been running now about 3 years, probably 4 already. And we do it particularly in the southern part of Europe and towards the east. But also the expertise that has been provided us by Baltic Sea Action Group has been tremendous. So without their help, and without your help, Laura, I don't think that we would be there where we are with the regenerative agriculture practice. And today, I can announce you that the program of EIT Food in the regenerative agriculture will be actually European-wide. So it is no longer be only local in the east and south, but actually it is going to be a European-wide program. And I think this is also good news, because even though things are happening, certainly in France, also like other countries, but yes, indeed, we need to accelerate, because if we don't accelerate, we will never get there. So it is with these acceleration words that I would like to finish. And of course, if you have any questions and any wish to discuss with us, we are here and hope to talk to you. So have a lovely conference, and thank you again for inviting us.
Thank you very much, Marja-Liisa, and please don't go too far. But and yes, when you started your speech, it reminded me. You know, there's so many different pathways to highlight the importance of soil regeneration to different crowds, and most certainly, you know, food is at the center of it. Food we all eat 3 times a day, and you know, this further highlights the importance of your project and of your angle at EIT Food.